That's the only thing I don't like is Instagram. You have to do it separately. Okay, we should be live. There we go. Okay. All right. All right. Good morning, everyone. So we're doing a Friday live, catching up with some of my friends, Jeremy Taggart, Baringer, and Sierra. And we're going to kind of talk about, all the doom that we're hearing out there about real estate crashing, prices coming down. But we got Jeremy in the Pittsburgh market and Baringer in the Atlanta market. So welcome, everyone.
Good to be here.
Hey,
Mark.
good to be
Yeah.
here.
It's early for me, so I mean, it's probably a decent time for you folks, but I'm trying to accommodate you guys. But yeah, so maybe like Jeremy, why don't you maybe start off, because every time I try to get you on here, you're telling me you're busy, and that's not what we're hearing about the real estate market.
Yeah, it's been wild here. I think the appetite is definitely picking up investment wise, because that's primarily our clients is investment real estate, like prime majority out of state investors. So I think that's definitely picked up. I think it's kind of, in my opinion at least, the interest rate thing is people are okay with it now. They're realizing that it's kind of the higher rates compared to the 3% rates are kind of here to stay. A lot of people were, I think, waiting to see if they would go down, but now it's just like people are okay with it and they're just diving back in, realizing that real estate prices probably aren't going to come down either. They're probably just going to continue to go up, especially in the more affordable markets like Pittsburgh. And I think the other side of that too is the fact that there's very few markets left in the country that actually do produce positive cash flow for a rental property if you're putting 20-25% down. So I think that's a big key as well, is there's kind of a push for affordable markets in general. And on the residential side of things, there's just no supply. So the demand is definitely higher than the supply on that side of things too. So residential is continuing to kind of be pretty hot as well, especially now that we're in the spring market with people kind of coming out of hibernation and looking for houses again. The weather's a little nicer here as well. So there's definitely seasonality in general in Pittsburgh, but yeah, it's been pretty crazy. It's just a lot more interest in properties the past couple of months. I've noticed it pick up quite a bit.
Cool. What about you, Baringer? Is that kind of the same story for you?
So sales have picked up. Probably the first year I've ever made it to April without having a sale, but with lots of clients, man. I've been getting a lot of things under contract, things falling through. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe I'm just unlucky. But I would kind of agree with Jeremy in the sense that people have gotten used to the interest rates. One advantage that I see and also agree with Jeremy with is that prices more than likely aren't coming down. You can look at any given city, and the story is always going to be different, even by zip code, on what the depreciation have been doing. Some places are down, a lot of other places are up. So I focus on the places around Atlanta, the metro area, on the ones who obviously have good appreciation, and kind of just focus on that. Every deal I'm doing with my clients, we're getting a good bit of equity. But I will say for out-of-state investors, when it comes to 20-25% down in Atlanta, you see an average of, after management, out-of-state management, you're going to see about $100 to $150 loss per month, which is not a good spot to be. But my entire kind of theology about it, if you could say, is that since we have hit a big lull in the market, and even now things are kind of going faster. If it's a nice house, I've been in some bidding wars, but since we have hit a lull, a lot of these buyers are on the sideline. We are getting more inventory, nowhere near the amount of inventory we're going to need to actually make prices go lower, in my opinion. But we are getting more inventory than we've had over the past 2 years. It's been a really good opportunity to come in, lowball these offers, get a perfectly move-in ready house, maybe $5K rehab cost, 10 to 20% below market price. And I tell them that if they're able to afford it, then it's great, a great opportunity. Lose a little bit of money on the first year of rent, but eventually, and I never tell them when. I know a lot of people are saying it would have come this year, later, or next year, but eventually interest rates will lower, rent will go up, And now you'll have a house that you got 30% or 20% below market price that's going to outperform probably all of your other assets over the next course of the decade.
Well, so like Sierra, you just came back from Oklahoma, right? Would you kind of have the same message, or is Oklahoma kind of oversupplied, or would you say prices are crashing?
So Oklahoma is definitely one of the more affordable markets anyways. And I think from what I've seen, the affordable markets are kind of what they're trying to do is just catch up with the rest of the country as far as like where they're priced at, and they have a lot of room to increase prices before they aren't an affordable market. What I saw a lot of in Oklahoma was new construction, new multifamily construction, lots of duplexes going up, and a lot of subdivisions going in, and that's one thing that when it comes to Oklahoma is you can buy a new construction house there for, 250,000. That's a 3-bed, 2-bath, pretty nice neighborhood, and you can't do that in very many markets anymore. So they have a lot of that, and I think that is because they have a lot of inventory because of the construction. So they're able to keep those prices kind of competitive because there is quite a bit to choose from in the new build. But if you're wanting in an established neighborhood or one of the older neighborhoods that's a little bit nicer, then you're going to pay more for something that's not brand new. So that's kind of where they're sitting, and that's what I saw. You definitely have a little more time than previously, like as far as bidding wars go or things flying off the market. Like there's definitely more days on market. But if something is, you know, nice, clean, close to move-in ready, and in a decent spot, like those just never last.
We got Joel Farrell from Strive for 25 popping his wise ass in here, but his comment is, "It's all coming down. Run, sell everything, and rent forever." So, are you guys getting that from your clients though? Do you have people coming to you like, "Oh, should I be renting now because rent is so much more affordable than buying"? Do you see that out there a lot?
I get asked that question frequently. I'm not too sure how to answer it, to be honest. Uh, Last house I leased for 3,300. Mortgage would have been about 3,300, and they're not going to have to pay for any of the repairs. So it's really up to the buyer. I inform them on the pros and cons and leave it up to them.
We're still
What about
good
you,
as far
Jeremy?
as I think it still makes more sense to buy here than rent. I think we might be one of the 5 markets or less left that's actually the case. But I would say like house hacking is getting a lot more popular, in particular with the price of single family homes, the monthly payment going up so much. So we're seeing a lot more people become landlords that might not otherwise have been landlords, more of a not true investors, but willing to be a landlord to live in the top neighborhoods that they now might be priced out of buying a house in. So that's kind of, we're seeing a lot of the owner occupant neighborhoods, the prices of these 2 to 4 units are going up as a result of that basically. So that's a new dynamic, I would say, with the higher interest rates here in particular, because before you could buy a single family house, but now we're starting to see some pricing out of maybe the top neighborhoods basically.
And that's also kind of what you're known for, one of your strengths, right? You are a house hacker extraordinaire. And I think the last time I spoke with you, there was one more that you were kind of, you said you're in retirement, but there was a deal, I think, that came across your table and you were contemplating doing one more house hack. So how's that going for you?
Yeah, it's been good. Turning over one of the units now, so it's been a good last one for sure. It was a good deal.
And you also, I know you work with Owe Nicholas, he's one of the members in the ORAT community, and you guys just did a burr. So I also want to maybe catch up later on that, and you and Owe we can have on and kind of go over the numbers for that. But I'd love to have both of you on at a later
Yeah, he's
time.
been
But we
killing
also,
it. He's building a portfolio here. He's doing well with it for sure.
yeah. So he was at the ORAT event in Vegas, and he was asking tons of great questions. But yes, I connected with him. But we also have a good comment here from Trade Better 20. He says, "Have your renters been asking for rent reductions in your market?"
Yeah, a lot. out of 130 units, just about everybody. We have not been increasing rent like we have in the past. I mean, if you leased 2 years ago, the market was hot, but rent's definitely pulled back here in Atlanta. I'd say anywhere, again, 10 to 20%. What I had leased for, just an example, 2150 back in 22, I'm leasing for 1800 now, and that's pretty much across the board. People are just really feeling the economy, and people who do leave always cite that the reason is they got a much cheaper rental. They're downsizing, moving back in with family, moving in with roommates again. So I think it's really starting to hit the economy. And in order to avoid those vacancies, One Source Real Estate, our property management, we are letting people stay in at the same rate, even on the rare occasion, a lower rate. I'd rather deal with that than have to put it up on the market. And the rental market is pretty saturated at the moment. So vacancies have gone from a week or two to 45 days. And it's definitely, investors are having to make the decision to either sit on the mortgage payment vacant for the next 2 to 3 months, or just cut the price by $250 and rent it out. In fact, I just made a video about it. Y'all can go check it out. Better Deals with Baringer on Instagram.
Do you think that's a result of overbuilding?
Of overbuilding?
Yeah, like are these mostly multifamily units you're referring to, or single family, or both?
It's all single family. People talk about building and such, but quite honestly, I'm not seeing a whole lot of multifamily developments going on in the metro area. With that being said, it's not something I really look into. And then when they are building homes, they're building a lot of luxury homes. They're not building any affordable housing. Also, the areas I operate in is like Smyrna, which is a city in Cobb County. It's actually one of the wealthiest places in the state, according to median home income. And just kind of B to A class neighborhoods. So don't know where I was going with that, but a lot of these are going to be like B class houses in A class neighborhoods.
Or do you think you're seeing a lot of new landlords because they maybe got a 3% interest rate on their home, and they maybe moved to a new place and they're deciding to keep it as a rental just because it has a 3% interest rate? You think
yes? Definitely, and I've been capitalizing on that as well. Every mailer I send out is Baringer Greer, buy, sell, or invest. And then I'm like, I actually mean it. I'm a property manager. I can help you rent out your home. And I've actually been getting a lot of business like that. I'm not really prospecting seller leads as much. I'm prospecting a lot of these new landlords, teaching them how to do it, and gaining their trust and helping them build a bigger portfolio if it's what they like to do.
Sierra, what about your tenant that you have in your, is their lease coming up this year, or what are you looking at?
They renewed in February, and we kept them at the same rent, just because they've been really great tenants, and we probably should have raised just a little bit. But honestly, that's the thing about investing in one of these markets that's not like a huge metro, right? Like, so the population is closer to 50,000 in the town that I invest in. And I was just seeing some other people or other landlords post about, if you're staying in these cities that are under 150,000, you're not really seeing the oversaturation quite as bad. And so there's not this kind of competition issue where people are all kind of moving around and switching to different places to get more affordable rent. I will say, in the smaller towns like this, the one thing that makes it hard to raise rent is there are a lot of well-established landlords who just rent below market because they have owned the properties for so long, or they own so much of the rental market in the town already that it can get hard to compete if they have stuff that they're willing to keep below market, but they're also not keeping their units necessarily as up to date. So there's that that I've noticed. There's also less multifamily to compete with. It's usually duplexes or like fourplexes in these smaller towns, because there's not a huge need for like big apartment complexes there. So can't go as high, I think, on the rent. But last time I checked, especially like in February when their lease renews, there's not a lot on the market. So they don't necessarily have the option to move to something cheaper when their lease renews. So they're kind of like in this bind where If they did want to move, they would kind of have to break their lease maybe in the summer or something. And even then, I didn't see any single family homes that were cheaper than the rent that they currently are at. So I think they're there to stay. As far as I know, it seems like they're planted for a while.
So what's your guys' thoughts on this? A lot of my audience follows, Dion talk, and he always talks about wanting his leases to renew in the winter months because people don't want to move at that time. So he's hoping his tenants, when the renewal comes up, the tenant's not going to want to move. What is your guys' thoughts on that? When would you maybe want your lease to renew in?
Always the summer. Always. It's so much easier. People are going to leave if they're going to leave. I mean, the winter months is actually one of the easiest times to move out because everyone's struggling for tenants and they can go anywhere they want. I mean, I get it's in the middle of the school year, but if the rent's going up exorbitantly high, if life happens, they're going to leave anyway. So I can see his point where they're a little more likely to stay because it is the middle of the school year and they have stuff going on. But also when they do leave, do you want to be stuck with that vacancy that's going to be almost twice as long just because you were hoping to keep them? It's kind of like a double-bladed sword to me. I mean, you might have 10, 20% more chance they stay, but once they're gone, you're leasing up in the winter. And I have always, and I think everybody's had a much harder time to lease things in the winter again.
Yeah, winter's tough, especially up here with the snow. I think that the cons probably outweigh the potential pros of them not wanting to move in the winter because rent amounts are usually lower in the winter and vacancies take longer to fill. And it's just, I think those offset any pros that you would have from that being in play. And I think it depends on the unit and the area as well. Like a 2-bedroom apartment in the city is going to be different than a 3-bedroom home in the top school district in the suburbs. So it kind of depends on your clientele as well, kind of how they view things and the dynamic of winter versus summer. But I always try to get them to end in the warmer months, ideally, just because sometimes it can get very tough in a normal year to lease stuff in the winter time.
Yeah. And if I may, real quick, I've also noticed that the majority of the bad applicants that we will move in because the owners just want to fill in the vacancy come during the winter months.
They wait till November to come out. And get the desperate landlords.
What it seems like, but every single app, honestly, I mean, every single person I have who's consistently late, we lease to in the winter.
I did notice that with applicants. I mean, we closed on our property at the end of January. So, I mean, leasing in the winter was just inevitable. But I did notice that with the applicants that was one thing I learned initially was that anyone who was ready to rent immediately was not a great applicant. And the people wanting to move in the winter, which the winter in Tennessee is very mild. So I can't really say that really has any effect on it, but being in the middle of the school year is something. But very few applicants had children that were in school. It was almost all young couples who were looking and trying to get their first rental or but yeah, the tenants that we ended up with had more of an extenuating circumstance where they were in an apartment and she was pregnant and they were dealing with the neighbors constantly smoking and that smoke being in their apartment because of the shared ventilation and stuff like that. So she was just like, we're just trying to get out of the situation. We're breaking our lease. Like we need something where like we're not in an apartment anymore. So but out of the 70 applicants, like there were very, very few that felt like quality applicants. So I can see how that tracks for the winter time.
Yeah, so we have another great question from Trade Better 20. Have you thought of opening to Section 8 vouchers in A class B areas to prevent vacancy? You deal with Section 8 quite a bit, Baringer?
I never deal with Section 8. One day I'd like to, more as like I'm able to help and provide for people living in the units, but I mean, I don't know. I don't want to sound bad, but just because the rent is guaranteed doesn't mean that the house is going to be taken care of, and there's no guarantee for those sort of things. So for that reason, I'm probably just not experienced enough in it, but I choose to not do Section 8.
I'm in the same boat.
Any of your
Like,
okay?
were you gonna ask him something else?
No, I was gonna ask like you. What about your tenants? You deal with Section 8 quite a bit?
Yeah, I don't do them. Mainly because the local like housing authority and stuff, sometimes it makes it hard with inspections and time to move a tenant in. Like I dealt with it a little bit whenever I was doing property management and leasing for clients, and it made it harder than it needed to be, and it was like sometimes hard to reach people there. So it kind of that, along with mainly the inspections every year, like they make you fix stuff that doesn't necessarily need to be fixed. You're putting money into the property that you wouldn't otherwise have to. Like the tenants don't want these things fixed. It's really the housing authority. So you have that side of it that I wasn't a huge fan of. It can work in specific zip codes though. Like there's certain zip codes here where the Section 8 rents are like crazy. They're like A-class rents, but they're like the cheapest areas in the city. So it's kind of weird how they determine the market rents for the Section 8. So I would say that would be kind of where it could make sense. But typically in like A and B class, I mean, you have so much demand for these rentals that the Section 8 rents, fair market rents, at least here, aren't any higher than what market rents would be. So I think it more so is prevalent in maybe the C class areas rather than the A and B, where you already have a lot of demand at market rate rentals, at least in our area here.
Yeah, totally agree. I think for me it comes down to from a landlord perspective, it's kind of, I think there's a place for it once your portfolio maybe is at a certain size, then you can kind of dabble in it. But like you're saying, maybe if it's your first, couple properties, sometimes the headache dealing with that Section 8 process, and like you're saying, you might have to fix certain things that normally you wouldn't fix, is maybe not worth that extra money that you might be collecting for the extra headaches that comes along with it. So for me, it's once maybe your portfolio gets to a certain size, and maybe it's something good to dabble into, just like, if you want to dabble in short-term rentals or something, but maybe get your portfolio kind of stabilized at a certain point. But that's my take on it. You got anything on that, Sierra?
I think that makes a lot of sense. Like as far as diversification of like how, the income that you're getting from your tenants. And I can see that wanting to have that as part of your portfolio. And obviously, for some people, rent, they grew up in Section 8 housing, and it's important to them to be a part of the Section 8 program and provide housing that way. And that, that matters too, if it's just something that you want to do. I think it's, if you can find a way to work with your local Section 8 program and make it successful, then that could be your niche. But I haven't done Section 8 yet here. And as far all that I know about it here is that the waiting list is incredibly long. So last I heard, it was like 2 years out to get on Section 8. So, I mean, I know there's a need for it, and there could definitely be money to be made there. But yeah, I think it's going to depend on the headache with your, with whatever zip code you're in and whoever you're working with within the Section 8 program.
All right, we got another good question in the comments. It says, if you're given 1 million cash today, how would you deploy it? Ooh, who wants to dig into that?
Be value add multifamily for me. Rinse and repeat with that initial lump sum probably. So I think there's opportunities in the 5+ unit space, people that didn't really know what they were doing, messing around with like bridge debt and stuff, not very experienced. I think there's some opportunity for that. That's just me having an unfair advantage in the local market as well, like being in it. But that's what I would personally do, like if I were to get that here myself.
Yeah, from a single family point of view, just take the cash, leverage people down as far as you can, buy places cash, no mortgage, refinance later when the rates drop. I'm in no rush.
No crypto, anyone? No Bitcoin or no?
I was going to say, I don't even know that I would go real estate with it.
Yeah, I got a few stocks I was going to put it in, but I was trying to keep the real estate.
No, if you have a different, everyone's path is different, man. I can see, like, the market, Bitcoin, everything is booming right now. So, I think a lot of people are putting money in those asset classes because, like you said, deals are hard to find right now, maybe on the real estate side. So that's why Bitcoin, the stock market's kind of propped up out there.
Honest answer, given $1 million cash today with my fiance as a teacher and summer right around the corner, y'all just wouldn't see me for the summer.
There you go. Be honest, man. Be honest.
Investments can wait.
Live a little now. That's the way to do it.
Well, I
take
don't know.
advantage of this
Jeremy
teacher summer
travels all
break.
over the place.
We
Yeah,
got a teacher
Jeremy's
summer
all
break
over the
coming up
place.
too. My fiance is a teacher as well. That's
Something
the move.
about guys in real
And
estate
and
teachers. Well, marrying teachers.
and Jeremy, I forget, you're trying to go to all different parks, national parks, correct? Is that
Yeah, I think we got like almost 20 set for this summer, so we should be pretty busy with those.
dang?
That's a lot in one summer.
Yeah, I
You
think
just
we
driving through and going to the next one.
we're kind of like lumping them together, like the regional ones that are close. We're flying in and then getting a rental car and hitting like sometimes up to like 6 at a time. So a lot of them are close out west.
Yeah. Well, I'm very well versed in
You got to look
Yellowstone.
into
My parents were
Hive
teachers
Mapper.
and had summers off, and so we spent every summer in Yellowstone.
We're going there this summer. We haven't been there yet.
That's a good one. Get out early and beat the crowds.
Yeah.
That's my advice.
Oh,
I'm sure
right.
it'll be definitely busy in the summer there.
Oh shoot! There. Oh, so Lauren Elaine, thanks for stopping by. She says, "Give me 1 million, and I'll be in Italy all summer." I can see that. Yeah. So go follow Lauren Elaine. She'll also on Instagram and I think it's investor Lauren on X now. But what is this? Trade Better 20, Crater Lake, Oregon.
I think we're going there
Is
this
that
summer
where he
too.
be, or is that a park?
Crater Lake.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it's probably. Oh. And Homes and Hustles.
Yeah, that place looks beautiful. In Oregon, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we're hitting that one this summer. Crater Lake. Nobody's investing the money. Everybody's taking it.
And here's the.
Yeah, no. Everyone's taking a vacation.
Yeah, I know. All right. Oh. Do you allow pets? Do all you folks allow pets in your guys' properties?
Yeah, of course. I always allow them. You can use pet screening if you want to keep out like dangerous breeds and you're concerned with the liability. You can always require they get pet insurance specific along with their renter's insurance. It's just an add-on that 90% of them offer if it's not already covered. Then it's just a way to make more income, $20 a month off each pet. A lot of people think that just because you have a pet deposit, like we do a $350 to $500 pet deposit, my tenants would think that if their pet made a mess, they're like, oh, well, my pet deposit just paid for all the floors they were on. And it's like, that's not the case. We're also going to take it out of your security deposit too. But I like letting people live their life. If they want to have a dog, cat, fish, bird, whatever they want, and go ahead. Noise complaints still apply. Noise complaints still apply. Security deposit still applies to the damage. 90% of the time, it's not going to be that big of a deal, though. Every time you'll get the one dog that is going to go and screw everything up. But chances are, we all know it's the owner, not always the dog. So if the dog's screwing up, the owner probably is too. So I say let them live.
I think we're very on track with that. Like we do the same thing. We charge $25 extra per month per pet. We do an upfront extra pet security deposit, basically, so they are more careful with it. Usually $300 for that. We'll allow most pets, cats, usually dogs under 50 pounds in most cases. Maybe if it was like a single family home, we might allow bigger dog, but generally under 50 pounds, no dangerous breeds on the dogs. And then if it is somewhat bigger of a dog, like say 40 pounds, like we have sometimes had issues with that as well. But like he said, it's typically the owner. In most all cases with pets, it's not the pet itself, it's the owner. It's the pet is just an extension of the owner, basically. So we reiterate that if it is a potentially bigger-ish dog, that if there is any noise complaints, especially if it's in like a up-down apartment building where there's tenants on either side of their unit, we let them know ahead of time that if there are issues with this dog, we're going to have to ask it to leave. So it better be a behaved dog if you're going to be bringing it in. So we kind of set the expectation up front, but there's just so many people that do have pets now, especially younger renters, that I think not allowing them would eliminate so many potential renters that it would make it harder to lease your unit. So I think just putting the extra fees in place and making sure that expectations are set up front has kind of worked out well for us from that standpoint to kind of get the best of both worlds with it.
And hey, 2 points to that, if I may. One, pet deposit over pet fee. If they pay you a fee, they're thinking they're already prepaying for damages in advance. So take a deposit, let them know they can get it back. And then two, it's not something I do, but my broker, Matt Nicola, and I frequent NARPM, National Association of Real Property Manager conferences. And those guys talk about offering like pets on a sliding scale. Like if it's over 40 pounds, $50 a month for rent. It's not something I or we have started, but they claim to have a lot of success with it. So there are ways to mitigate.
Because I would think more people would be flat out no, like say the bigger the dog is, so that they'd be willing to pay more if they get somebody that would accept that dog versus say like a small dog or a cat. So that makes sense.
It's interesting because in my mind, some of the small dogs are a lot more terrorizing than larger dogs. But I think as long as, like, when it comes to the large dog thing, like, you know, our rental
Well, you have
properties
chickens and stuff. That's why.
Well, yeah, but I want a lot of land. But backyard chickens are, I think they're allowed most places, like if it's less than like 5 chickens or something. But no roosters. I'm not sure what the city ordinances are, but you know, like our rental property is on 1/4 of an acre though. So like, I don't think I'd have any problem necessarily with allowing one large dog. But I think that I would fence in the property before I felt comfortable doing that, just to mitigate any like issues with neighbors or more of a headache there. But our tenants had 2 cats, and so we just, you know, charged the monthly fee for the cats and a deposit. But I mean, that I do kind of, I mean, yeah, the neighbors that I've had with smaller dogs, usually they are the ones causing more damage. So, but it is, like you guys said, an extension of the owner.
All right, I see we got another question here. It says, what is the biggest thing new investors need to be aware of in your market? Ooh.
I got a few things. I don't even know. Just kind of my own complaints. But I would say if you're an out-of-state investor investing in Atlanta, they always think they got to go Atlanta proper, and they end up buying in like some of the worst neighborhoods because the numbers look good and the agent doesn't know any better, because every agent is buy, sell, invest, even though they have no idea about investment real estate. So I see that a lot. Not really understanding what things are. Like I had a lady at the last meetup tell me about her house, how it has polybutylene plumbing. She thought it was just normal plumbing because it wasn't leaking. There's a crack in the foundation. Some guy said he could fix for $2,000, and it ended up being more like $25,000. Then she had to replace all the pipes. $13K job right there. So just 1, familiarity. 2, having a good agent. And 3, knowing where you're investing. Definitely do your research, because on paper it might look great, but in practice it's horrible. Like one of the investments that a guy was very, very, very keen on getting in one of the worst neighborhoods in the city, which I'm fine. I never tell them. Well, I always tell them to do their research. look at certain websites, see what they're looking at. Just really wanted it. And the first week of owning it, the door was broken into like 7 times. And I'm like, I'm glad you're getting great cash flow if we can keep people from burglaring it all the time. But that is what I see.
Yeah, that could be one of the things here too, is if you're not familiar with the market, getting enticed by the spreadsheet numbers that in reality a lot of times don't end up working out that way, especially if you aren't local, hands-on, self-managing it. Like third-party management can only do so much. So that's something in our market as well. And I think another thing in Pittsburgh too is we have a lot of older houses, early 1900s builds. So being aware of the things that come along with those houses, like the knob and tube wiring, cast iron plumbing, foundation things you have to look out for. So really just like the old home things, we have people that maybe think maintenance is going to be similar to maybe a house that was built closer to 2000, which that's not the case on these older homes. You have higher monthly maintenance, higher CapEx that you have to keep in mind when you are owning the older homes compared to something that's newer. So I would say those would be kind of two bigger things here. And that, along with that, like, I think the fact that we have a very hilly terrain as well. And sometimes like a house has like 20, 30 steps to get up to it. There's no parking, like things like that are unique to maybe our city here that make it very hard to rent or sell properties that you might not think is a big deal, but like doing it on a daily basis, you see what people are deterred by and keeping out for things like that, or maybe like railroad tracks. We have a lot of that going on here. Something that's right beside the railroad tracks, you got to keep in mind stuff like that I see a lot of newer investors kind of not realize until after the fact, but then you learn that going forward, and it helps you as an investor. But we always like to kind of tell people these things up front if they are newer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was thinking along those exact
So
same
the one,
lines.
since I invest in Pittsburgh.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I was thinking along those exact same lines of those kind of unique quirks that are appealing and turn-offs to renters or potential like if you're gonna flip it and have someone buy it, just the busy streets or the parking situation, or how much of how big of the lot is, or a fence or no fence, or what the curb appeal looks like. Just those little things that end up making a bigger difference down the road is a big thing too for newbies, because it is like you're told it's just a numbers game and like to analyze it on your spreadsheet and not to get emotionally invested in the property, right? But then like there are those things that your renters or your potential buyers are going to be looking at, and so to know those will put you at an advantage.
Yeah, the qualitative side of it, it's easy to overlook when you don't know what you don't know at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so since I invest in Pittsburgh, I think, and a lot of people that I'm helping get started there, the one thing is, the property taxes is somewhat confusing, I guess you could say. I don't know if that's the thing in Atlanta also. And the other thing, Jeremy, is because of basements, a lot, like especially people from Hawaii, we don't have basements. So a lot of times when the inspection reports come back, it's kind of, how do we alleviate those fears about what's showing up in the inspection report on the basement side of it?
Some of them can be very intimidating, especially if you're not used to old house basements.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's the bit, a lot of, like I said, a lot of people, getting, like I said, especially from Hawaii, they see the inspection report and they're just like, they're scared. They're like, I don't want to do this anymore. And you kind of got to guide them through it. And kind of like you said, a lot of these homes are older, it is pretty common. But yeah, if you just kind of understand, there's a little bit more maintenance, but the property tax, especially in Pittsburgh, is kind of confusing. So I don't know, Baringer, is that how it is in Atlanta?
It's not necessarily confusing. You just have to make sure what you're looking at is accurate on the tax database. A lot of people with homestead exemption, so you're going to think you're getting like a 20% discount on them. But other than that, pretty straightforward.
Yeah, taxes are something we always kind of...
Sierra got a warrant. No, go.
I was gonna say taxes, like you were saying in Pittsburgh, like it's kind of a mess right now with the whole common level ratio thing. They change it every year, so that's been like tricky to navigate and like having to explain that to clients. If you don't know that, you could get kind of burned sometimes if you're buying something way below assessed value, because we've been done a reassessment and I think like over 12 years. So like you're seeing some crazy swings on new purchases versus ones that haven't been resold in that time period. And then every different municipality has a different millage rate. There's 3 sets of tax rates: either the local, the county, the school district as well. So it can be tricky to navigate that too if you don't know the how it all works and how it's calculated. Then that's another thing that you don't know what you don't know. So we always try to kind of explain that if there is a potential tax hit on a new property, if you were to purchase it at a new price, it's definitely something that's important as a newer investor, because you don't want to get burned. There goes your cash. Cash was already tight enough to begin with. Like a swing in the property taxes could blow that out of the water, go from positive to negative after the first year if they appeal the taxes.
I will say that also sounds more like the difference between a liberal city and a more conservative area.
Yeah, very reactive when it comes to property taxes here, rather than proactive, you could say.
Do you see the high cost of transferring the title as what catches some investors off, in Pittsburgh? That's kind of what caught me by surprise.
Yeah.
Also.
The city transfer tax, 2.5% per side. It's 1% outside the city, but the 2.5%, I think, is the highest in the country. So it's definitely something that has to be factored in with closing costs and even selling a house as well. Because you get a $600,000 house, 2.5%, that's a decent chunk of change.
Yeah, even like I said, I did the whole LLC thing, and even if you just want to transfer it from the LLC to your name or vice versa, those transfer title fees can add up. So that's something to consider when investing in, and that's why it's good to talk to people that invest in those markets ahead of time, and that kind of caught me off guard though.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like that's a lot of things people do is they'll buy in their personal name, get a 30-year fixed rate loan, transfer to the LLC. If you do that here, then you have that transfer tax. So it's almost like you have to decide up front if you want personal name or LLC. I think there is a loophole. Like if you've owned it for 2 years and you want to transfer from an LLC to your personal name, you don't have to pay it, because I did that on one of mine. But other than that, you have to pay it if you do transfer, even if it's something that's an LLC you own versus your personal name.
Yeah. She should have told me that ahead of time, man.
You gotta work with a good agent.
We got another. Hey, easy now. We got another great question from Trade Better 20. He says, "How about appliances? How do you keep the purchase maintenance price minimal?"
Yeah, so I posted a video at the very beginning of the journey when I started looking at rental properties, and I knew that we wanted to invest when we moved here to Tennessee, and so I negotiated keeping the refrigerator in the primary residence that we were buying, even though we already had a refrigerator. That way, when we bought a rental property, I would already have a refrigerator to put in the rental property. So there's lots of ways to be, kind of creative and strategic. And, a lot of houses are sold with the appliances typically, but refrigerators around here are the one thing that sometimes people will take. Like usually the oven will stay and dishwasher will stay, but refrigerators sometimes people will take, especially during the pandemic when you couldn't get one at the store. Like you would be like on a 6-month waiting list if you ordered one. They were kind of a hot commodity. So I made sure to take ours with us when we sold the house in Kansas, and then negotiated to keep the one in the house here in Tennessee. And then when we bought a rental property and needed to put a refrigerator in it, I already had one. You can have the tenants bring their own. That's fairly common as well. And then the washer and dryer, usually the tenants supply, but you can have the hookups. So that's kind of how it works around here. as far as the maintenance on appliances go, we do all of our own maintenance and figure it out. So I would say, buy something that you know how to work on, or otherwise just make it the tenant responsibility and then they're in charge of their own repairs.
Appliances, I like going to
Baringer, how much input?
or what were you gonna ask, Mark?
No, I was gonna just say how much input do you take from your clients? Like, if they're, do you let them pick out what appliances they want to use, or you kind of give them your advice on what you recommend?
Well, anything that I spend $500 on or more, I have to get my client's permission first. When it comes to appliances, I am not going to go buy anything used. Like if I were to own my own properties, I'd probably wait on Facebook Marketplace for something good to come up that's working and functioning. Newer appliances are also kind of getting a little worse, like Whirlpool. Their fridges, don't even get me started on that. It's like
They don't last like they used to.
No, nowhere near. Like my parents have the same fridge in their garage that I had growing up. It's been working for like 30 years. I bought some Whirlpool fridges and they broke 3 times in the same year, and they're basically just waiting for it to go out of warranty so they don't have to worry about it anymore. So I don't buy Whirlpool anymore. But I mostly go to Costco, honestly. I got a Costco exclusive membership, of course, and they give you like 2% cash back on it. They do haul away and installation for free. I mean, you can go to other places. You can go to wholesale places. BrandSmart does pretty good on appliances, but they're not going to install it, and they're not going to take out your old one. So you get a handyman over there to install and take out the old one. Next thing you know, you might have saved $150 on the appliance, but then you just paid another $150 just to get everything else taken care of. So I like going to Costco. They offer a warranty backed by the manufacturer as well. So you get like a year or 2 warranty from it. You get 2% cash back, and they're going to do everything you need. Install it, haul it away, make sure everything's looking good.
Janitor on F.I.R.E comments that Samsung and LG fridges suck. That's what I hear a lot.
I think they all suck, honestly.
It's wild though, because we have a Samsung fridge that's going on 7 years without any issues. So it's so strange. And I think like what you guys were saying about the Whirlpool one, I think the first one I bought was Whirlpool, but I bought it used off of Marketplace from someone who had it for a couple of years, and they had bought a property, kind of that thing, and they ended up with an extra and were selling it, and it did great too, but it was significantly older. So it's the thing I've had more trouble with is like the washer and dryers than like the refrigerators.
Yeah, I was gonna say we typically provide the kitchen appliances, and like if I do a new one, I'll usually just do whatever happens to be stainless steel on sale at Home Depot. Usually they're like discounted depending on the brand.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll put those in and then replace them as needed. Usually it just ends up being replaced because the cost to repair a kitchen appliance, usually, unless like a dishwasher or something, sometimes that can just be a plumbing issue. But like if a fridge has issues or stove or something, like a lot of times it's just better to replace it depending on the age of it. But washers and dryers, like at the beginning when I just had a few units, like I was supplying them for the tenants, but those things were always breaking. So it was just like, it was one more thing to have a hassle, worry about. And like in my market here, you don't really, a lot of them just leave the hookups. So like what we've been doing with the washer and dryers is just leaving the washer and dryer hookups. The tenants get their own. If they're adamant about having one on site, like if it's not an option for them, then sometimes we will put a set in, but basically say like it's as is, or if one was left in a unit, we're saying it's as is. If it breaks, you have to get your own. We'll leave the hookups for you. And then outside of that, like sometimes we will put a set in for the tenants. If they want to pay like an extra $50 a month on the course of them living there, then they would essentially have paid for the washer and dryer anyhow. They just do it monthly. So we're getting basically a free washer and dryer. And then the next tenant that moves in, it's the as is thing. So it's like, it's there. The last tenant left it technically, so you can use it. But if it fails, we're not going to replace it or repair it. And it works out in most neighborhoods here. I think like only the top tier neighborhoods in the city kind of expect the washer and dryer to be in the units. That's like A-class city neighborhoods. Otherwise, hookups is fine. So those have been the biggest issues. Seems like those break even more than the kitchen appliances do.
Yeah, I don't do washer and dryers because they do break all the time.
It's more hassle.
It's got to be operator error.
Yeah, I think you have a higher likelihood of those as well, especially with the dryers. Like, I don't know what people do with dryers. It's crazy.
We got Hugo from Stay Winning Podcast, who's in California or Clownifornia or whatever you want to call it, but they're pushing for electric stoves, and says the rental he has a gas stove and his tenants appreciate it. So
user error
go.
with the gas stoves.
And we have
Is that a thing though? Is
let's see. Oh, we have Josh Burdick who popped in, and he says, what was that?
I was just wondering if they're actually pushing for electric stoves. I saw it like hit social media like a year ago, but I didn't know that was a thing. They were actually trying to get rid of gas stoves.
I'm sure they are. If any place is going to push for it, it's over there.
California.
But Josh Burdick has popped in. He says he has an LG fridge he bought in 2006. And hey, Josh, if you're still here, if you can, I'm not sure if you can, but post your YouTube channel in the comments, because Josh has an awesome YouTube channel also. He has a lot of cool stuff going on with his, I think it was car, not repair, but build, but go check it out. But if you can, post your YouTube channel in the comments, man. And let's see, another question. Let's see, we got, do you enforce renters insurance? What about you, Baringer?
Yeah, 100%. If they don't have insurance, I want to move them in.
Same with us.
Do you stay on top of it?
Yeah, and if they do lapse, we do something called forced placement.
I mean, when they move in, they have to have it, but do you guys monitor?
You kind of have to. I mean, if it lapses, we'll do forced place insurance, to where we charge them $35 a month. It's about 3 times the cost of normal insurance, because people aren't going to do anything until it starts hitting their pocketbook. And that's basically liability insurance for us. It doesn't really cover them, but just get your renter's insurance. It's $12 a month, and you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, we have them list the management company as an additional insured on the policy. So if it does lapse, they mail something out to us also. Well, the management.
Interesting.
Yeah,
you could do that.
You got to be a interested party on that thing.
I mean, I required them to have it within 30 days of moving in, and they got it. And then they sent me their renewal when it renewed. I don't know that I would have stayed on top of it if they hadn't, but they stayed on top of it. So, I mean, it's a requirement in the lease. So it's so cheap. I think, usually once people get it, they keep it because it's not a huge expense. We always paid ours, I think, the whole year at once, but I know you can do it monthly. Yeah.
Let's see. We got another question. So, how do you guys think sports teams impact your guys' markets? Like, do you think it's good or bad for you guys' markets?
Well, that's a great question for me. I walked to the Braves games. And right now, Braves, knock on wood, we're looking pretty good.
They're pretty good.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess I can say.
And Acuna is sucking right now.
Well, just wait. Give him some time. There's a lot of games in the season.
No, but that's what I mean. They're doing good even though he's struggling.
Yeah, because we're a full team. But anyways, yeah, I mean, we're literally changed Smyrna overnight. 10 years ago, like when I told my mom, who's been in Georgia her whole life, I was moving to Smyrna, she got scared. And I was like, no, you got to come see it now. The place is a whole new city, and it's definitely done well for Smyrna. Other than that, I don't know how well it's done for the rest of Georgia, but Smyrna, A lot of people from Atlanta, they'll call them the Smyrna Braves, just being petty about it. But it kind of does have some truth to it, and it's definitely really kickstarted Smyrna city government and has helped home prices appreciate quite well.
Yeah, I think that having professional sports teams in a city like is definitely a big positive for a multitude of factors. Like not only the location that the stadiums are located in themselves. Like I know here, like we have the baseball and football are on the North Shore, basically. Like everything is kind of developed around there. So it's kind of like a draw, especially if people are coming from out of town. Like that area just surrounding the stadiums has really kind of blown up because of that. And then I think just having national exposure like that in any city as a whole is good for the market, just for a multitude of reasons. Like I know me personally, like I'm a sports fan, so like I wouldn't want to live in a city where I wasn't close to professional sports games, just because it's something I like doing. So like me personally, that would be a non-negotiable for me. Like I wouldn't want to live in a city that didn't have sports teams. Like I'm sure I'm not the only one that's the case for. So I think just in general, like draw to the city metro that does have sports teams on that grand scale, like it's definitely a positive. And then obviously if you have really good teams, like you're getting national media attention, you're getting to playoff games in your city, you're getting people from out of town coming in as well. So like anytime you have a good sports team, like I think more football and hockey with us. Baseball's not quite there yet, but it's definitely we've like with the Steelers in particular. It's kind of there's a lot of Steelers fans in the country too, so you get a lot of people coming in from out of town quite consistently for the Steelers games and whatnot.
One other thing I'll say is like Atlanta's been a big topic in real estate, and everyone here is like, oh, Atlanta's coming up quick. It's looking like a great city, plenty of job growth. And then they go and see Atlanta Braves won the World Series. And I'm not saying it has anything, I can't like quantify it, but I can't help but feel like just the marketing there. Like you hear the job growth is great, then you see the teams playing great and the teams making headlines. So it's just everywhere you look is Atlanta doing well.
Yeah, it's something you can't necessarily put a number on, but you know it's a factor just in general.
So Sierra, you're in Tennessee and there's sporting teams there, but you're kind of far away from that, right? Like the stadiums.
Yeah, and it's more there's a lot more hype around college sports here. Especially between Alabama and Tennessee. But I was just when you guys were talking about that, I was thinking about Oklahoma City because when they got the Thunder, it definitely improved the downtown area and did a lot for Oklahoma City to get that kind of hype around it because before it didn't get a whole lot of national media or anything like that. And when as far as tourism goes, especially if you're in the short-term rental market in Oklahoma City, because there hasn't been, at least previously, there weren't a lot of regulations around short-term rentals there. You could do pretty well even just with a regular residential house when the Thunder were doing well because that arena there definitely drew a crowd, especially back when they were doing really well. And I think they're having a good year again this year. So we'll see how that impacts things. But it definitely, I think that media coverage that comes to the cities because of the sports is huge for real estate.
Yeah, and someone's taking a jab at Pittsburgh's baseball team, Jeremy. But
I don't want to
yeah,
talk
so
about that.
Dennis, Dirty Deeds, stopping by. Thanks, man.
It's the management, the ownership.
It is. There's another guy, Lars. I'm not sure if he's here, but he's kind of in the one rental at a time community. But he says Pittsburgh ownership, I know he's told me this before, has drove him away from following baseball. Like he can't stand it. They have great players, they trade them away, and they're just so cheap, the ownership. So yeah,
that's the problem. It's just sad because like the fan base like would 100% show out for it. Like they kind of did back in 2013 when they made that playoff series, and it was just like the Steelers games, basically. But the ownership doesn't want to participate, apparently.
Well, we'll see what the turnout is tomorrow because Paul Skeens is going to take the hill, right? So,
Yeah, it should be.
It's got to be in
It's
Pittsburgh, right?
definitely a lot of hype around that for sure. It might be kind of a T Swift
Yeah.
Travis Kelce thing because I don't know if you've seen Libby Dunn is his girlfriend too, so that might be a whole thing as far as national media exposure goes.
Yes,
The
I saw
MLB
that.
starting to take advantage of it too. I don't know if you've seen any of their posts like on X and Twitter or whatnot.
Yeah, I saw you post it too. So, but yeah, he's on my fantasy team, so I'm glad he's coming up finally. But yeah, Hugo giving me shit that there's always sports stuff coming up in my lives, but
I wonder how that happens.
wait till the Bears. What is that?
Too early. Too early.
Yes, see,
We'll
see. Hey,
a lot of hype there
jump
too.
on the bandwagon. Let's see. I love the part.
We'll have Caleb Williams in a few years as our QB.
Oh no, stop with that nonsense, man. I love the Pirates, but their last title was the year I was born. Oh shit, what's that? They didn't win the 90. They always lost.
1990?
Right to the Braves.
Maybe?
Just win. Not trying to age you at all.
I was born, because I was born in 93, and I think it was right before that, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that would have been the last time.
I don't know if they won, though.
1979.
Right? Oh, damn.
It might have been like the NLCS or something in 90.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know this. Let's see. What else we got? Yeah, what else you guys got going on then? Anything else you guys want to talk about? Any other cool topics? That's all we got in the comments for now. Yeah, but Jeremy, I do want to get you and Owie back on, and maybe we can go over like some numbers on his most recent Burr project, so that people that may
really any of his
dig into Pittsburgh.
He kind of started out a few years ago, and he's bought a few properties. It's kind of slow and steady. He's getting more into Burrs now, though.
Cool. Yeah. What about you, Baringer? Where can people find you, man?
Better Deals by Baringer? I think Better Deals by Baringer on Instagram, or you can also find us on Bigger Pockets if you're looking to invest in Atlanta. Look at Matt Nicklin and One Source Real Estate, and I'll be able to set you up.
Are you paying for those videos, or you're doing them yourselves, the ones that you've been posting on Instagram?
Well, I have a good marketing team that I've been close to. It is a pretty close relationship with them. It's my brother's fiance's brother, and he's always been doing marketing. Wanted to start his own business, so I got in early. I pay him pretty good price per month, and by good price I mean like good for me, and he's happy with it. So I wanted to do something a little more professional. I wanted to look pretty good on it. I wanted them to look well done, and quite honest with you, we just have fun doing it.
Yeah, they're entertaining, but very, very well put together.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I like it.
I think I'm pretty lucky with the team I have now. They're all very smart people. They're just starting their own business, and I was like, once I found out, I was like, hey, I need some marketing. You need some clients. Let's help each other out.
Oh, we got Trade Better 20 with another comment. Hot take coming up. Of the 4 amigos, who do you most relate with? Sierra, maybe you can dig into this.
4 amigos being Zuber, Dion, Matt, and Mike.
That's what I'm assuming. Yeah.
Okay. Who do I most relate with? I guess maybe Zuber, or maybe Zuber crossed with Dion if I can cheat and make a hybrid. But I feel like I very much have the mindset of like just getting to enough so that my retirement would be better than what it would otherwise be. And I think that's kind of where Zuber started out. And then being able to share that process or what I learned from that so that other people can also do the same. So I think that's kind of, at least mindset wise, where I'm at. But I also I relate to Dion a lot as far as like not wanting much of a headache with the investments, and so trying to streamline the investments enough so that he could have as little property as possible, but maximize the cash flow. So like financially, I'm definitely in that camp.
I don't know if I know enough.
All right. Well, before I give my, yeah, that's that's what I was going to say. So maybe try to give my audience maybe your mindset on investing. Are you looking to get to, 100 properties, or are you looking for a certain amount of cash flow? Like, what does maybe your like financial freedom look like to you?
Yeah, I could touch on that because I actually kind of went through that, you could say, decision this year. Like I think when I first started, I wanted to go big, like have a ton of units. It was more ego driven, I think. Like when you're in your early 20s, like it's all about that, basically. But then you get to a point where like I've acquired almost 50 units now at this point. It's like you see what comes along with the management side of things of it. So like I've reached a point where I almost have to keep it at this amount, or if I want to continue to buy more, then it's almost I have to turn it into an actual business, like outsource everything, get people like on board to manage all of that. So it's kind of where I decided this year was like I don't really need more than that, especially the fact that I started so young. Like I can kind of just basically optimize that number of units to the point where I'm still keeping 50 units max, but I can now start to kind of get into A-class areas, higher rent per unit, sell the cheaper renting C-class stuff to trade up for, say, a unit that's renting for $800 a month that I have now. I can trade that in for something that's renting for $2,000 a month, like say an A-class area with a 3-bedroom unit. So for me, I think like that's how I'm gonna go going forward, is keep it somewhat small, but like realize that I don't necessarily need more than that. The only thing that would be fed by that would be my ego. Like money wise, I think that's enough in my mindset that I would rather kind of maximize quality of life over just building to build for the sake of adding more units, basically. So that's kind of what I guess I decided this year was the route I would take, having thought about it, kind of being at the crossroads myself as far as that goes.
What about you, Baringer?
Sorry, I've been looking at the Pittsburgh Pirates 1979 too.
We need to stop talking about that.
I'm so sorry.
No, I mean, like,
What does financial freedom look like to me? I'm sorry.
yeah,
guys.
like, are you looking to, you're no,
Well,
let's have fun here. But I mean, are you looking to like scale quickly, or what is your vision?
not at all. Honestly, I'm with probably the smartest person I've ever met, Matt Nicklin, doing property management with him. We go really hard in that. I invest a whole lot in that. I don't buy real estate right now. I had my eye on a few deals, but it's got to be the right deal. I want to stay in the area I'm with, want to get my fiance a house, but also I want to be able to do the house hack duplex conversions that I've been doing for a lot of clients. There's some real potential. Under contract on the one just across the creek from me right now. Should be able to turn that one into a triplex, just like this, the one I'm living in. But other than that, I have no goals to acquire real estate quickly. I much rather focus on building property management, becoming a better real estate agent to the point that I can eventually automate that one day. I got like a 10 to 15 year goal for that, just making a big property management company, hiring it out and not having to work as hard. I'm sure the deals will come. This market, as we know, isn't the best time, I feel like, for me to go out and start buying things. So I'm saving up my money, living within my means, and I'm waiting for the right things to come my way. Meanwhile, I'm going to focus on making more cash flow, aka income, off of my business. And that's it. Property management is I feel like, I mean, you got to think, and it's the reason why I got into property management. If landlords are buying rental properties for passive income, even when they are managing it and they call it passive, then they have to pay for repairs, they have to deal with vacancies, they have a lot more overhead than me. I rather do a really, really good job of managing theirs, getting my 10% a month, making sure that they're taken care of so they're not having to pay any major expenses. And then, I mean, some of these properties, I can go 6 months without hearing any news from, no work orders or anything, until I go and do the inspection. They look good. We go back in another 6 months or when they give us work orders. It works out for everyone involved. My investors don't have to worry about a single thing. I make sure everything's taken care of when it has to be taken care of. And I do get freedom. Over the summer, I'm going to be able to hang out with my fiance and do things with her, go on vacations and such, and still be able to work from my phone and make sure everything is running well.
Awesome. I think for me, I'm definitely kind of Sierra's hybrid, Zuber and Dion. You know, like I said, Dion always caught me initially because his YouTube when he was on Bigger Pockets, his title was The Lazy Investor, and that really kind of connected with me. You know, but I think I got even lazier. So like Jeremy talks about, like in the beginning, there's some ego there, and you know, you want to get so many doors and whatnot. But after you kind of realize, like you're saying, you're creating this kind of Frankenstein, and that's also being taken from maybe Chad Carson's mindset. So another guy that I really admire and follow, and you know, like that mindset of the small and mighty investor. So that's where I'm at. And I think if anything with Zuber, it's more that I love his, I guess you can say, his work ethic, and he's just consistent in what he does, and he's doing this every day. You know, he's putting out like 5 videos every day, and that's kind of where I'm at. I'm trying to be as consistent as possible, even though, you know, it's a lot of work. You know, I'm having fun though, but it is hard trying to do this consistently. And I think that's where I resonate a lot with Zuber, is he's just out there trying to help people, and just his consistency, and he is doing this every single day, and he shows up every day. But as far as like the investing side, it's really that Dion and Coach Carson side of kind of smaller is better. And that would be my wrap up of what my style is, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of the philosophies of Chad Carson for sure.
It's always nice to hear
Yeah,
Baringer
we got
talk
to meet.
about.
I don't know. Did you ever read his book, Jeremy?
Yeah, I read both of his books. I listen to his podcast a lot too.
No. This lag is killing me.
No, I was gonna say it's always nice to hear Baringer's perspective, because like he's so much more on the like the business operation side of stuff, and you know, that entrepreneur mindset is still there, and it makes total sense. Like, it, as far as investing in real estate goes, like if your job isn't already aligning with real estate, like it feels like diversification, right? To have a real estate investment and then your W-2 be something else. But like with your what you do already being real estate related, like it would all, even if you invested in rental properties right now, you're still all in the same industry, which doesn't make a ton of sense to do. So I like that you are like trying to streamline and capitalize like building cash flow on the business side of things, and then making like the investment some that makes sense like more down the line.
Yeah, and there's plenty of time, you know. I mean, It's cliche, but luck is when opportunity and preparation meets. Well, I am very well prepared. I know investments better than most of the actual investors I work for, if not all of them. No offense, guys, but that's why they come to me. I find the deal, I do the deal, I manage the deal, and one day I will have the deals happen. It's just not something I go out and routinely search for. I've had quite a few things come my way. Unfortunately, they didn't pan out the way I wanted, but I'm going to have plenty more. And there will be, I believe, tons to come. I mean, I've seen a lot of people, most of the older investors I know with like 70 units, they bought most of those in like a 4-year span. So just waiting for my time.
That's how it was for me. Like 4 years was the bulk of the portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Jeremy, are you going to do any more house hacking?
Doesn't appear to be, no.
Did you have a bad experience with it, Jeremy?
No, I've just been doing it for so long. I've done 7 of them. I've been doing it since 2016. So,
And when you say house hack, there's like 20 different definitions for it now. So what exactly do you mean by house hack?
2 to 4 unit properties for me because they still make sense here. So, live in one, rent the others out.
Hack.
But you don't. Your fiance doesn't house hack with you, right? She has her own place, or I forget.
Yeah, she single family house, so that's kind of the second home, basically. The house hacks that I've been living in, and then we got the single family home as well. So that was a way to prolong the house hacking career over. It might probably would not have been that many if we were living together the whole time, to say the least. It was a way to hack the house hacking, I guess you could say.
Ned says my last house hack was a 5-unit. Sort of weird doing commercial financed house hack.
It's still a house hack.
Mm-hmm. Is it? Can you get a lower down payment with the commercial loan?
No, yeah,
Well,
5+ is commercial finance.
I'm not sure if I'm going to use Yardstream again.
I figured.
Yeah, I don't know. This started off strong, but now it's acting up quite a bit.
Does it lag a
So
lot?
I don't know if everyone's waking up in Hawaii.
It is what it is.
I've been having issues with it. I've tried all types of things. But yeah, I don't know if everyone.
I have to look at get going pretty soon, so maybe it's just a sign of the times.
No, sounds good. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna stick with Zoom after this. It started off strong, but like I said, I don't know. Maybe everyone's waking up in Hawaii, so the internet is acting up now. But thanks for doing this, all you guys, and we'll have it on. Like I said, Jeremy, I'll get you back on, and Sierra out. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Yep, you too.
You too.
Have a good one. Bye.